Now let's take you to this development now in Cape Town. It would appear that the fire has restarted in Parliament. Our reporter Abra Barbier is on the ground there for us. Abra, talk to us about this development. What are you seeing?
Unati, yes, myself and my colleagues, we were all in our newsroom. You know, the SABC, we have offices in Parliament. We are based in the Marks building. So we've got prime property basically here at Parliament. And while we were all busy filing to send our scripts through to Joburg for TV and for radio, and then we all got a strong smell of smoke. And I started hearing screaming, and we all just started sprinting down the corridors, and we're on the balcony right now. We're not allowed on the ground because it's currently a crime scene owned by the Hawks. So even though we do try to, we try our luck and we try to make our way as close to the actual site of the blaze as possible, we get chased away. But I think you can see the black smoke. It looks like it's coming out of the National Assembly, which of course has already borne the brunt of the devastation. Earlier on, MPs were saying that their hearts are broken. We ourselves have not been right into the National Assembly, but we are told that the public gallery, it's collapsed. And what we're seeing right now, if this fire has reignited in a bad way, obviously more devastation can be expected. There are still quite a few fire trucks on the scene. Earlier on, they were on a little bit of a break because obviously it was mopping down operations and there were just a few hot spots, but no active blazes as far as I'm concerned. I'm now seeing one of the firefighters. Oh, he is right on the roof. Yeah, he's right on the roof there now. I don't know if he's doing some assessment, but I'm imagining that all of them have had to run back into the building now to go and try to put out that blaze. It's quite a lot of black smoke, you can see. Of course, we haven't had any official word from Parliament because this is actually it's happened right now. So I guess we will get an update very soon on if there is any further damage. That's what's happening right now, Unati. My colleague Pam, who's on cameras, there you can see the firefighter going up. More assessments, I guess. We are told that various investigations are underway to get to the source of what caused the fire. Political parties are calling for independent forensic investigations. Of course, they say that SAPs can't investigate themselves, so they want independent investigations. Earlier on, I was so relieved because I was told that certain parts of the building were safe. One of the tapestries, one of the most beautiful tapestries here in Parliament, it runs across the building inside along the walls. At first I was really concerned that tapestry was damaged, and then we were told that it survived. We were also told that the library survived. So of course, for those of us who know Parliament, who work here, who come into contact with the various buildings and the artifacts and the crafts, it was really concerning for all of us. And now just seeing this after hearing that certain areas were not touched, seeing this now leaves one actually worried about how much more devastation could be taking place. We of course are hoping that firefighters will be able to get this under control as soon as possible. The smoke coming up is quite consistent. It's black, strong plumes of smoke going across the sky right now. And of course I see a crane going up. Pam, can you see the crane over there? I see cranes going up, more firefighters going up in the crane to see how close, I suppose, they can get to that blaze. I can't see if they have any water cannons or hoses with them. A loud bang we just heard now. Let's just see what's going to happen with that crane. Maybe he does have a hose over there. So all of this live visuals coming to you from the parliamentary precinct, just as we thought things were calming down. We were busy with mopping up operations. Now this happens.
Now, in fact, Abra,
firefighters going down in the crane. Yes?
Now, in fact, Abra, I mean, this also happens, just to inform our viewers, at the back of that press briefing with the chairperson of the National House of Provinces, as well as the Speaker, Nosiviwe Mapisa Ngakula, who are in Cape Town, in fact, very close to Parliament to assess the extent of the damage. One wonders, is there anybody there in the building at the time or anywhere near the precinct at the time of this? I mean, I can see the firefighter there on the roof looking very, comfortable there on the roof. I would imagine the authorities have evacuated anybody who was around there. Could you see any fire at all, any flames? Abra, I know that we're seeing black smoke coming up, lots and lots of smoke, I would add.
Unati, from where I'm positioned, I can't actually see flames. All I can tell you is that the smell is quite overwhelming. And then, of course, there's the black smoke, which you can also see. I don't imagine that anybody aside from emergency officials and the firefighters would be close to the scene. The briefing which took place earlier on was held in the Good Hope chamber, which is on the precinct. It is close to the National Assembly, but it was far enough for it not to have been affected. That's where all the officials were. I can't imagine that they would have been taken anywhere near to the actual to the scene. If I remember correctly, I think I heard one of them saying that at this point they themselves haven't actually seen the damage. I speak under correction. I think that's what I heard. So they would not have seen exactly what it looks like, and they would also not be there right now. The officers up there, those are staff members' officers. The communications, Parliament's communications officer, who we normally speak to for comment on anything happening in Parliament, his office is up there as well. I wish I could see exactly where the blaze is. Unfortunately, my colleague and I, we were chased away earlier on when we tried to get as close as possible, but understandably it is a crime scene and they need to keep everybody safe at this point. The area is all cordoned off. We will see how far we can get. When we're done here, I'm going to see how far we can get. But obviously we're going to have to just respect the rule of law and just adhere to whatever it is that we are told by security and by SAPS on the scene. Unati?
Now, Abra, I know that you cover Parliament quite significantly. I mean, watching Parliament flare up again just when we thought, that this fire was contained, as you said in the beginning, and also having heard that some of the archives and the artifacts, important documentation, were not damaged in the initial fire which started on Sunday. I mean, take us through what just goes through your mind, seeing this as somebody who has done this beat for a very long time, who knows members of Parliament that work there, who knows many people that work in that building. Of course, it is currently under recess, but talk to me, what are the emotions there right now as you're watching this happen yet again?
Unati, as you know, being a journalist, we need to separate ourselves from the story. We need to be as objective as possible and not get emotionally attached to our stories. That's just rule number one, Journal 101. I was not at work yesterday when the story broke. I watched it on SABC News. I called my contacts who I know who work at Parliament. People are sad. I mean, I don't even want to use the word sad. People are devastated. When I drove in this morning, because of course I came on duty this morning, when I drove in and I came down, I think it's Roland Street. And Roland Street, basically you drive down it and then all of a sudden this big imposing building just appears before you. It opens up and you realize, oh, that's the Parliament of South Africa. My stomach dropped. My stomach literally dropped. as I got closer and as I had to pull into the parking area. It was not a good feeling. As I walked in to the precinct again, we were first all the media were told to stay outside, but because the SABC, we have officers in here, they know us, they know all our colleagues here in the Marx building. They allowed us in to come and access our newsroom so that we could obviously work and send the visuals and send our scripts up to you guys in Joburg. And then I spoke to some of the parliamentary staff workers, people who, of course, I mean, these are people you interact with on a daily basis, people you speak to. These are secretaries, these are protection services, just administrators. You know each other. And I spoke to the one gentleman. And you know this gentleman, he's the guy who clamps our cars if we park illegally. So you always try to maintain a really good relationship with him. And I went straight up to him and I said, I don't want to mention his name, and I said to him, how are you feeling? Hoe voel jy vandag, meneer? And he was deflated. He was absolutely, normally we share jokes with each other, but he was absolutely deflated. And I could see on his face, on his body, obviously they were very tired as well, because who knows how long they've been here. He was exhausted and he was heartbroken, and he just kept shaking his head and he just kept saying, it's so bad, it's so bad. And then I spoke to one of the MPs as well, and I could hear the actual pain in her voice, because these people spend hours and hours in the National Assembly. This is our office. We come here, there's a press gallery. We come here and we sit in the press gallery as journalists, as camera people, as media. This is the National Assembly and other parts of the building. It's our office, it's our workspace. As much as the SABC has an entire studio here, the entire building, we have access to it, and this is our workspace. So I felt the pain. I felt the pain, and of course the anger. Opposition parties are expressing a lot of anger because they want answers. They just cannot understand, understandably so, cannot understand how this was allowed to happen. And even the ANC chief whip earlier this morning, she spoke to my colleague Lulama. She was calling for people to just be calm. She was saying that they are trying their best to get to the bottom of it. But above all, the most important thing is that MPs across party lines agree the work of Parliament has to continue. They have to find a way to ensure that the work of Parliament continues, because obviously it cannot come to a standstill. There's important legislation that needs to be processed, and they're going to have to obviously get going with this very, very soon, later in January, early February. I mean, we call the SONA the opening of Parliament, which is actually an incorrect term, because the day of SONA, it's not the opening of Parliament, because work actually happens at Parliament prior to the President's address. So there's a lot of emotions running high around here. It's very sad, Unati.
And in fact, you know, just talking about that work ethic and the resilience, the chairperson of the NCOP, Amos Masondo, during that media briefing saying that they are determined, you know, to demonstrate their resilience by ensuring that the work of Parliament is not disrupted. You know, Abra, also what has, you know, strongly come out of this incident, this fire that broke out on Sunday morning, is that question of safety and security. Now, the Speaker, Nosiviwe Mapisa Ngakula, saying that it's the responsibility of both Parliament and the SAPS to ensure safety of Parliament. So to our viewers, if you have just joined us and are watching these pictures now coming to your screen, we're showing you live visuals from just outside Parliament. My colleague Abra is reporting to us not too far off from the precinct, and the fire seems to have flared up again. Firefighters are on the scene and are currently monitoring the situation. If you can see there on the picture, you'll see there's a crane and, in fact, the firefighter who is on that crane, probably assessing the damage from above. We know that the precinct itself has been evacuated of any members of the public, but of course parliamentarians are there today monitoring that situation. Abra, speak to me about those questions that have come out, particularly from those that you've spoken to, about the issues of safety, about the issues of security, knowing very well that this is not the first fire. Of course, it's the first fire of this magnitude to hit that precinct.
Onati, you are correct. This is not the first fire. In fact, I was trying to recall earlier on another fire that happened here, and I think that one was put down to aging infrastructure. I can remember in the aftermath of the fire when everything was up and running again, and we went into a committee room, and I remember sitting in that committee room and thinking, wow, this was one of the rooms that was affected by the fire. So it's not the first fire, and safety, I think there are just more questions than answers. I wish I could give you the answers. I just think that there are more questions than answers at this point. As you know, tomorrow somebody is appearing in court. The gentleman who was arrested, who was found in the precinct, he will be appearing in court tomorrow. I don't know if he'll be able to provide us with any answers. But a lot of issues around wanting to know exactly how this was allowed to happen, if I can say that. Earlier on in the briefing, another journalist from one of the other media houses, the speaker got quite irritated with him, I think, because he kept pushing about previous reports from MPs to the speaker that they were concerned about the issue of safety. Natasha Matsone earlier on comparing our parliament to other government buildings in other parts of the world, saying that our security detail is lacking big time. I spoke to a contact who works here, who, when I asked him certain things, and he also just shrugged. He couldn't give me any answer because he works here. He's part of the Security and Protection Service. They themselves don't know how this could happen. Lots of speculation at the moment. The UDM earlier on, Ngabazombi Kwankwa, Chief Whip of the UDM, spoke to me saying that the acting secretary to Parliament needs to answer questions. Some people saying Patricia de Lille needs to answer questions, Minister Patricia de Lille. I don't know. It's obviously early days. The blame game will always happen. But like I say, hopefully that independent forensic report, if it is an independent forensic report, we will get answers. Earlier on, I saw a group of gentlemen who are not familiar to me here at Parliament, and I'm told that they are investigators. So they are obviously up and down, out and about, doing their assessments. Unati, you are right. I mean, there are loads of concerns around. Even in the building that we work in the Marks building, there have been issues and concerns. I mean, we know to never leave our doors unlocked. It's just common practice because in recent years, there have been incidents. So yeah, I will say security is lacking, just based on my own personal experience and based on what I've heard other parties put to the administration of Parliament. Unati?
Abra, thank you so much for that. Of course, to our viewers, if you've just joined us, what we are seeing now is a smoke, a fire flaring up again inside Parliament. In fact, we know that firefighters are on the scene. I've just been talking to one of our reporters, Abra Barbier, who is reporting just outside the SABC offices, and she is looking at this smoke and developments there. Of course, this is happening just after that briefing by the Speaker of Parliament, Nosiviwe Mapisa Ngakula, and she was flanked by the minister there responsible for, that particular building. And we spoke to her earlier, Patricia de Lille, saying that, a forensic report is currently being conducted and preliminary reports will be revealed on Friday.